I'm going to jump into an overview of the hell maps. There are currently two of them right now, and so I'm going to go over each of the rooms and tell you guys which ones are easy, which ones are hard. Let you guys get a good foundation as to what you're jumping into here. So to start off, we'll just start off in the top left corner here. This map right here is, in my opinion, fairly difficult, this room. So I'm going to put this as an orange, blue orange here. So this one I would say is fairly difficult. You do have two dog spawns here. You also have another one on the corner here. And in the latest update, there's also a bat in the middle here that isn't showing on this diagram. This map is a little bit outdated, but we'll work with it. Moving along here, the room on to the right of it here, I would say is pretty green. There is one of the new Minotaur kind of guys right here where this green dot is, but there are safe spots that you can use to kill him here and here. And if you just come across this way, you can safe spot him on either one of the sides and then kill just a couple skeletons and you'll be able to make it across. You can get pretty good loot here from those, and if you want to, you can also safe spot the dogs either on the doors here and here, or if you've cleared one of the side rooms, you could use those, as well as you can safe spot them on the same spots over here behind the chests. Moving to the right, this room I would say is borderline red, depending on where you're at. It's a pretty difficult room. There's a skeleton mage right here on my red dot. And then there's a bunch of zombies in here, as well as the dogs. And you can actually spawn on both of these points. If you do spawn on both these points and you don't have a ranged character, I highly recommend you just leave through the side exits. Going through all of this is a pain. If you are coming in through one of these, you do have to deal with the mage, which can be a bit of a pain. It also has two skull bats here that you'll have to deal with, but you can kill the mage and go through here without aggroing the dogs. So if you're careful and you kind of hug this side and you deal with the mage, you should be fine. But this one, I've found a lot of people die to. It's very easy to pull too much. There's also a bunch of crossbow guys up here that will just be pelting you the entire time. Not a fun room to deal with. I recommend avoiding it. Coming down here, we have this one, which I think is an orange difficulty. There is a Minotaur in it, and there's also a dog on this side and a bat. You have to be very careful about these. However, for the dog and the Minotaur, there are safe spots. There's little like windows, right? I think it's here and here. But they're on the sides like that you can hop into where the Minotaur and the dogs can't get you, but the bat will. So generally speaking, I clear the zombies and stuff that are in here. I'll try and get to one of those ledges and we'll kill the bat. Once we've killed the bat, we'll then aggro the Minotaur and the dog, and you can sit in the safe spot and just kill those for free. So if you don't handle this room well, or if you come out like a door and you run directly into the Minotaur, it can be a big problem. Or if you can't kill the bat before you aggro the Minotaur, it can cause a lot of issues. So be careful, but if you do this in the right order, it is doable. Moving along here. This room, if you're actually trying to clear, I would highly recommend not to. It's a pain. There's a ton of there's a lot of elevation in this room. So there's crossbow skeletons and bow skeletons. As you can see, there's a lower section and an upper section up here. And there's also a Minotaur and some dogs, and it's just not super easy. There's also not a lot of safe spots in this room. So dealing with some of the monsters requires you to more or less face tank them, which can be pretty difficult. Moving to this left room over here, I will say actually real quick, coming through here, if you hug a wall and just leave, this isn't too bad, but actually clearing the room itself is, I would almost put that as like pretty green if you just take a route like that. But if you aggro stuff in here, it becomes a nightmare real quick. You also have to be careful about the dog when leaving this room. So you'll want to open the door, aggro the dog, and then close the door to cheese it on it. After we go through this, I'll have, or before, I haven't decided exactly where I'm putting it, but I'll have a demonstration on how to deal with all these monsters. Moving along to this room, This is an orange room. It's not too bad to deal with. There are some monsters in it. We turn on the skeletons. There's a number of skeletons here, mage, and there's another demon guy that's patrolling right here. So this room is actually not that bad to clear. You'll see the Hell Shrine in the back. You can actually safe spot almost everything in this room off of the Hell Shrine. You will aggro an archer skeleton when you get to the Hell Shrine. So usually if we come in from this angle, I will send one of my teammates in to aggro the demon centaur minotaur kind of thing here and the dog, and they'll hop up on top of the safe spot. They'll also aggro the skeleton that's an archer that can be a problem. Once he's got aggro on those, though, your second team member can come and kill the skeleton, and then you don't have to worry about anything after that. They can safe spot it, clear the room. It's not too bad. So this one you can get a lot of loot from, and it's all safe spottable, but you can take a lot of damage if you don't do it correctly. It does have the added benefit of the Hell Shrine, which is why I'm putting it as orange. Moving along over here, this room right here is very green. If you can go through this room instead of something else, if you're trying to race it to zone or whatever, this room only has skeletons. You don't have to deal with demon dogs. You don't have to deal with demon bats. No minotaurs. This room is great. The map can be a little confusing. There's an undersection and a couple floors above, but the easiest path coming in, you're gonna come down this hallway and then back up the stairs to go around, or you can come over this way, up the stairs, and then go out either direction, depending on what you need. So that room is super easy, and I highly recommend going in there if you are just trying to get out, basically. Loot is one of the worst, though. And then finally down here in this room I would also put as red. This is another very difficult room. When you come in, there are 2 dog spawns here, as well as they've added one of the minotaurs over here. And what ends up happening often, you'll come in, you'll instantly aggro this dog. You'll want to close the door and kill that. And then you'll come in here. There's going to be skull bats all around. There's going to be a minotaur that can kind of like path all around this area. So sometimes he'll be there and you can get just destroyed by that. Often I find that my group will die in this area where we'll get the blue portal spawning here. And so we'll end up aggroing like 2 dogs or a minotaur or a centaur and a minotaur. And it's very difficult. If you can avoid this room, there's not a lot of safe spots for it. And so I recommend just not dealing with it if you can avoid it. And then finally, obviously, we have the boss room. This room is deadly. Depending on the boss, like if you have the Ghost King or something, it can teleport and block you from leaving from an exit. The ones that are easier to run across are the Lich ones. However, generally speaking, if you need to go across this room, it's always safer to do 90-degree turns, come in, and then do another 90-degree turn out. The only exception to this is if you have like a red room, right? You have one of these orange or difficult rooms that you're going through and you don't want to clear it or you don't have time to clear it. Try and bring an invisibility pot. You can go all the way across, take your invis pot, drop the aggro of the boss, and then open the door. And that'll prevent you from getting stuck and killed by the boss. So that's the rundown of map number 1. We're going to jump over here to map number 2 really quick. Let me switch. We come up here. There's actually a second Inferno map. And let's see if we can erase some stuff. Perfect. We're going to change the filters on this so it's not quite as much of a disaster. Grab the rest of my little dots here. Okay. Moving along. This room is dangerous. Be very careful of this. That's really thick, but keep it. There are 3 of those bat spawns in this room. Not sure if they're... We can turn those back on, actually. Go centaur, demon bat, demon dog. Okay. So yeah, there's 3 of these bat spawns in here, and you can actually spawn in this room. You'll spawn in like one of these little cubbies here, and the bats don't have a ton of HP, but their biggest advantage, I guess, is that they knock you back. And because this is a tiered system, it's kind of like a reverse pyramid where you're at the lowest point here and the highest point on the edge. you can be up here and you can get launched into the middle, aggroing a ton of zombies and stuff off of their knockback. So when you're fighting them, make sure you put your back to a wall, and that makes this room a lot easier. However, it's still difficult to deal with, and if you don't have a ranged person, they can still do pretty good damage to you and are problematic. Moving along here, this next room is what I would deem as orange. There's a centaur up here. They've also added a minotaur right here, and then the two dogs. There's also a wraith right here, but the wraith won't be able to access you. I find the best way to deal with this room is there's a little shelf right here where I just drew with the orange that you can stand on that will safe spot basically everything in this room. The centaur can't hit you, the dogs can't hit you, and the minotaur can't hit you. You can even pull all of these and then stand up here and just kill them. You might take a little bit of damage from the centaur depending on how you position it and everything, but you can pretty reliably safe spot it there. The other option is if you have an invisibility or if you can take like a hit from the centaur or something. If you come in this side, you can come to a lever that's right here on that orange dot. A little bit thick for my liking. There we go. Undo that real quick. But if you come in right here, there's a lever right here and it will open a little platform on that circle. And if you're standing on that platform, you can also safe spot the dogs, the minotaur, and the centaur. Especially if a ranged weapon, the centaur can hit you a little bit here, but you can do that. And you can also safe spot the wraith from that platform, which is the only way to access it anyways. So this one is orange. It's pretty dangerous, but there's a lot of loot in it and it is safe spottable. So it's a great room to learn how to loot because you can get tons of stuff. Moving on to this right side. This room can be pretty dangerous if you don't skirt out along the edges. Increase this just a little bit. There we go. There are centaurs in here. I think they've added a minotaur as well as the bat and a ton of dogs. As far as I'm aware, there's these little islands that you can safe spot some things on, but the bat can still get to you and often cause other issues. So I don't recommend clearing this room. It's not as easy to deal with. There's less safe spots. And so just getting through it is often better. If I end up in one of these rooms, I usually avoid this corner room completely. If you spawn in it, I would just try and make your way to an exit. You're going to have a better time looting pretty much anything else than trying to deal with the mobs in this room. Moving along down here, this next room is a green. There's not a ton of mobs in here. It's mainly skeletons. If we turn that back on, you'll see there's just a ton of skeletons in here. So coming through here, you're usually going to be totally fine. Um, there's like a skeleton champion in here, and some archers, but they're all safe spottable on some of the pillars and stuff in the room. So there's not too much to worry about. There, yeah. So there's the skeleton captain right there. So that's a pretty good demonstration. Coming along down here is also the same thing. Most of these south rooms are all green. So you go back there. So this one is green. This one is green. You also won't have to deal with any minotaurs or anything. But I would say the loot is pretty bad. I haven't figured out exactly what's going on with this section. I need to do some more research on that. There is a hidden door here that you can like kind of parkour pretty close to, but I haven't found a way to get it open. There's probably a guide somewhere to do it, but I am unaware. These rooms are easy to clear though. They just have skeletons. Some of them may have a wraith, if I remember correctly. Yeah, there is a wraith in this room. However, all of those are like pretty easy to deal with if you know how to cheese them. And then moving along over here, this is also a green room. Not a lot of stuff in there. It's just tons of spiders and stuff. Spiders and bugs. This is also a mining room. So if you're coming down looking for ore, you can mine down here. The spawn point is down here in this corner. It's easy to clear, not a problem. If you spawn in any of these lower rooms, they're great for just getting straight to the boss and getting your boss kill in without having to deal with other stuff. Whereas the north side of this dungeon is really difficult to deal with, but you can get pretty good loot if you're not going for a boss kill. And then this other one, I think, in my opinion, this is probably the easiest one in the game. This is my super simple, doesn't matter who you are, you can probably clear this room or at least get through this room without taking any damage. You can come in. The archers on top of these can be a pain, but they can't move off the pedestal. So even if you aggro them, it doesn't really matter. You can run past them, immediately drop down. You can stand on both of these ramps. There's one here and one here that you can safe spot the skeletons on. And then you can run out into either the boss rooms or come up the ramp and run across here and get out. Basically, there's almost no danger in this. You can run past everything and it's not an issue. So that's all the rooms in hell, in the inferno. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. Hopefully this was helpful, and I'll catch you guys later.